The most unifying part of yesterday that I wanted to play for you here, and I think it's always important to share these moments at a time when, listen, we're grieving, we're reacting, it's emotional. I understand it. You know, people immediately dive into their corners and want to put up their guard and unfortunately do what this country does far too much of. But yesterday, it was such an incredible moment to watch our good friend, Generald Wilson. Now, I don't remember if they've done the anthem at previous parades. Do either of you guys remember if they'd done the anthem at previous parades? Because I don't remember.
Don't recall.
I believe they did, but not as big as yesterday.
Certainly not.
I think we had maybe a local female singer one time, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Generald Wilson, of course, has been a guest on this show. They break him out for the big games. He did the Eagles game this past season. He did the AFC Championship game last year. He's done a couple of AFC Championship games for us. Did the Titans game, did last year's Bengals game. I think I've seen him do the anthem 3 or 4 times in person. And if you can't get chills with Generald Wilson, you got to get your pulse checked. They broke him out yesterday. He's standing there on the stage right in front of Union Station. And it was just as powerful as it ever is, as it always is, with a guy like Generald Wilson. I want to play that for you. Of course, he's a veteran. He's from the St. Louis side of the state. And if I was the commissioner of any major American sport, I'd have Generald Wilson singing the anthem before every big game. And we are lucky to have him here in Missouri.
Early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
Generald Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. If your hair did not stand up on your back and your arms in the last 1 minute and 55 seconds, please go to the doctor right now and get your pulse checked.
He was hanging on to anticipating the Chiefs, but the crowd was waiting him out. I'm like, that's funny.
They did wait him out.
Brilliant.
He is unbelievable, that guy.
Outstanding.
And then the flyover right after.
The flyover, I mean, that was just goosebumps. I could listen to that over and over and over again from Generald Wilson, who's done the anthem at many Chiefs games. They break him out for the big game. He's kind of like the Mariano Rivera out of the bullpen when you need the closer. That's what he is. And, man, he just crushed it yesterday. And to go from that moment to how the day ended, it is a darn shame. 913-408-7957. Mayor Lucas scheduled to be here in 10 minutes. Jonathan's in Kansas City. Next up. Hey, Jonathan, good morning.
How you doing?
What's happening, man?
So, I live in the inner city, and one of the things that, there's all these apps out there nowadays, one of the more useful, interesting apps I've found is the Neighbor app. There's a couple other similar apps where you basically put it on your device, set it up, and you tell it where you live, and it'll tell you what's going on, like in the city or the area around you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like local social media. It'll tell you what's really going on beyond what the news reports, beyond what this person, that person says is going on. And you see a lot of community announcements, lost pets, but you see a lot of crimes too. You see a lot of shootings every day, probably multiple ones a day.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of car thefts, a lot of those caught on video, like Ring doorbell cameras. You see, a lot of package stealing. I mean, just all kinds of crimes, and they don't seem to get better. It seems to get worse over time. And it's kind of that broken windows theory. It's like, well, if you don't address the small stuff, then, people act all surprised something big like this happened. Maybe we shouldn't be so surprised. And, it goes back to, broken windows theory. You got to address the small things before, people have confidence that they can go to events and bigger stuff's not going to happen,
Yeah, Jonathan, thank you. You're right. And that's why, one of the big talking points I heard from Police Chief Stacey Graves, who did a great job yesterday, but when she said this is not Kansas City, the best of Kansas City was on display yesterday in the heroism, but also the worst of Kansas City. Violent crime was on display yesterday.